Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you've been thinking about your own healing, maybe exploring what recovery means beyond the usual definitions, well, you're definitely in the right place today.
Yeah, we're looking at some really fascinating material from City Vision University. It's from their Wounded Healers course.
We've got course slides, a transcript.
Mm-hmm.
It really lays out the philosophy behind this whole idea, the wounded healer, holistic recovery. It's quite a powerful way of looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, if you're actually in that course and listening, welcome. We're really aiming this deep dive at unpacking the heart of what you're studying.
Right. Our goal today really is to pull out the key stuff from this material, like what does wounded healer actually mean?
And why does it apply so broadly? Because it seems like it's not just for one specific group of people.
Exactly. And how does this course material tackle healing and recovery in this sort of holistic way?
Okay, so let's dive right in. The core idea, it seems, it really hits home. It challenges that notion that some people are wounded and others, well, aren't.
Yeah, it says, and this is pretty direct from the source, nobody escapes being wounded. We are all wounded people, whether physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually.
Wow. Okay, so we all have scars. Some you see, some you don't.
Right.
So if everyone's wounded, then it's not about trying to hide them
Right.
or pretend they're not there.
No, not at all. The material shifts the focus. The big question becomes, how can we put our woundedness in the service of others?
Ah, okay, that's the turn.
That's the pivot. It's the moment where those hurts, those difficult experiences, they stop being just sources of shame.
And
They become sources of healing. For you, yes, but also potentially for the people around you. That's the transformation. That's becoming a wounded healer.
So right away, this blows the idea of recovery wide open, doesn't it? It's not just about, say, substance addiction, which is often the first thing people think of.
Absolutely. It's a framework that fits anyone who's faced hardship, pain, trauma, which, let's be honest, is basically everyone.
Yeah.
And it's for anyone who wants to move towards healing, towards growth, and maybe even towards helping others along the way.
Okay, so let's talk more about expanding that idea of recovery. The material suggests it's much bigger, more holistic.
It really is. It's about looking at all the areas in your life where you might feel wounded or stuck or just not quite thriving, places where you need some healing, some growth.
And it stresses actually doing things, changing habits, the heart and hands part, not just understanding it intellectually, the head stuff.
Activity is key. It's not just theory.
Which makes sense. You don't just think your way into healing. You have to engage with it.
And what's interesting is how the course philosophy is explicitly aimed at real life change. It's not just about understanding why you struggle.
It's about weaving those insights into how you actually live day to day.
Exactly. Fostering real transformation, not just collecting knowledge.
Okay, that connects back to the idea that maybe we're all in recovery because everyone's got those wounds, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual.
We all have areas needing attention, needing healing, needing growth. It's kind of a lifelong process, really.
The sources use this concept, the downward spiral, to show how things can go wrong.
Yeah, it's a useful visual. It shows how different things can chip away at what they call your personal capacity for recovery, basically your inner resources.
Like what sort of things?
Well, unresolved trauma is a big one, but also things like toxic core beliefs about yourself, difficulty managing emotions, being in unhealthy relationships.
Physical health, too.
Definitely. Neglecting your physical health, having weak boundaries, even major stress from work or finances. All these things can feed into that downward spiral.
So it makes you less resilient, more vulnerable. And like you said, it's not just about addiction. Someone could be drowning in debt, totally burnt out, relationships falling apart, no substances involved, but still spiraling down.
Precisely. It's that steady erosion of your ability to cope, to thrive.
So what's the opposite? The material talks about an upward spiral.
Right, that's the proactive path. It's about consciously building that personal capacity back up.
By working on those same areas.
Exactly. Intentionally putting in effort, like actively processing trauma, challenging those negative beliefs, learning skills to handle emotions better.
Building healthier relationships.
Yeah.
Finding good support.
Yes. And improving physical health, setting clear boundaries, working towards more stability in your life, circumstances, job, finances, that sort of thing.
It paints recovery as this ongoing active process. Holistic. Building resilience piece by piece.
It's definitely not portrayed as a one-time fix, more like a journey. The material even mentions getting a little bit better each year. It's about long-term growth.
So how does the course break down this holistic approach? I saw something about a four-quadrant model.
Yeah, that's a key framework they use. It helps map out different aspects of life and the influences on us. It looks at things from an individual perspective and a collective one.
Okay, break that down for me.
So you've got the individual perspectives first. There's nurture, that's your inner world.
Yeah.
Think counseling, identity work, beliefs, spiritual
You
life.
got it. Inner self.
Then there's physical nature, that's your body. Health, diet, exercise, sleep, medical stuff.
Makes sense. Individual inner and outer.
Then you zoom out to the collective level. There's cultural. This is about the groups you're part of, your community, maybe church, the media you consume, your social circle.
Okay, the immediate social environment.
And finally, societal. This is the bigger picture stuff. Your job, finances, housing, systemic issues, policies, the broader economy.
Right, so 4 lenses to look through. What's the significance of that?
Well, what's really insightful is how they map causes versus solutions. The material points out that a lot of the academic understanding of the causes of problems, addiction, poor health, you name it, often falls into what Stephen Covey called the circle of concern.
Meaning things you can't really change?
Pretty much. Things like your genetics or large-scale societal problems. Important to understand, yes, but not where your leverage is for personal change.
So where is the leverage?
In your circle of influence, the things you can do something about. And that's where the solutions for recovery and self-care come in. Crucially, those solutions span all 4 quadrants.
Ah, I see. So you can't just say, focus on positive thinking if your physical health is a wreck or you're stuck in toxic relationships.
Exactly. It has to be holistic because these areas all impact each other. Think about it. Poor physical health drains the energy you need for any kind of positive change, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Unhealthy relationships can totally undermine any progress you make emotionally or mentally.
Or those toxic core beliefs we mentioned, they might stop you from even believing you deserve self-care in the first place.
Right. So struggles in any of these quadrants, maybe it's chronic anxiety from never setting boundaries, quadrant 1 and 3, or maybe it's burnout from neglecting health, quadrant 2, can drain your capacity and sabotage healing, whether addiction is involved or not.
It seems like the course itself is structured to walk you through these different areas. It starts with trauma and stress.
Yeah, week 2 focuses there. Processing the past is shown as vital for stopping negative cycles.
And it mentions complex trauma specifically.
It does, highlighting how ongoing trauma messes with emotional regulation and relationships. And crucially, it stresses getting to a place of safety first before diving deep into trauma work.
That makes a lot of sense. So after trauma, it moves to thoughts and core beliefs.
Yep. Week 3, it digs into those negative core beliefs. I'm worthless, I'm not good enough, that kind of thing, often rooted in trauma.
And how they can block recovery.
Absolutely. So it looks at techniques, identifying them, challenging them, replacing them, even bringing in things like Christian CBT practices, using scripture or worship as tools for that cognitive shift.
Then managing emotions comes next, week 4.
Right. Because when emotions feel out of control, it can trigger cravings or just general chaos. So learning practical ways to manage them. Journaling, prayer, talking to safe people, stress reduction. It's like letting steam out of a pressure cooker, the material suggests. Prevents explosions. It even mentions DBT principles being helpful here.
Dialectical behavior therapy, right? Known for emotion regulation.
Exactly. Then week 5 is healthy relationships and support. We touched on this. Toxic relationships drag you down.
While safe people build you up.
Fundamentally. So it covers setting boundaries, finding supportive networks, and also learning how to be a good friend yourself.
And physical health gets its own focus too. Week 6.
Yes, because poor physical health can really drive addictive cycles or just sap the energy you need for anything else.
So improving at diet, exercise, medical care gives you more resources.
More energy, more resilience, lessens the pull of negative patterns. They even highlight models like the Daniel Plan, which looks at health very holistically. Faith, food, fitness, focus, friends. Shows how interconnected it all is.
Finally, boundaries and self-care. Week 7.
Crucial. Because not practicing self-care, often tied back to those negative beliefs, just drains your battery.
So you need to figure out what actually refuels you.
Yes. Learn your unique self-care needs and build routines. It's about keeping your cup full so you have the resources to handle life and avoid falling back into struggle.
It really paints a picture of this journey through trauma, thoughts, emotions, relationships, health, boundaries, as being all tangled together. And cyclical.
Definitely not linear. You work on one bit, gain some strength, and that maybe gives you the energy to tackle something else.
Progress happens over time. little by little.
Yeah, consistently working these areas, sometimes over years, even decades, the transcript suggests. Getting that little bit better each year.
And doing that work, that personal healing journey, that's what leads back to the wounded healer idea.
Exactly. As you learn, as you heal, as you actually do these things in your own life, you build your own capacity, sure, but you also gain something else.
Empathy, understanding.
Yes. Experience, empathy, wisdom. Your wounds, once you've journeyed through them, they transform. They stop being just sources of shame or pain.
And become.
Sources of strength, connection, understanding. They equip you to walk alongside others who are hurting, to put that woundedness into service, like the material says.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The core message from this City Vision material seems to be that recovery isn't some niche thing. It's broad, it's holistic, and honestly, it applies to everyone because, well, everyone gets wounded somehow.
Right. It's this lifelong journey of actively working on different parts of your life. Your thoughts, feelings, body, relationships, boundaries, how you interact with the world.
And the goal isn't just stopping something bad, it's deeper life change.
Yeah.
Building up your personal capacity, your resilience, your ability to thrive.
And in doing that work for yourself, you actually transform your own wounds. They go from being points of pain to sources of purpose, equipping you to genuinely help other people on their paths.
That's powerful. So thinking about this whole journey, how cyclical it is, how all these areas, thoughts, feelings, health, relationships are connected. Maybe the takeaway for you listening is this. What's just one small step, one concrete thing you could maybe do today in any of these areas?
Yeah, maybe it's just noticing a tough thought without judgment, or taking 5 minutes to breathe when you feel overwhelmed.
Or sending a quick text to a supportive friend, doing one small thing for your physical health, saying no to something small to protect your energy, learning one new thing.
Just one small action. What's one step that could be part of your ongoing healing that could help expand your capacity, even just a tiny bit, starting right now?